I want to welcome everyone to this month's Wednesday webinar. When you have questions, please put those in the chat box and make sure your microphone is muted. Today we have Gary Zaleski as our guest speaker. Gary was our keynote speaker at our 2016 summer conference in Vicksburg. His enthusiastic energy and explosive humor are contagious. He has a passion for life and is giving back during this pandemic by offering this presentation pro bono. The title of his presentation today is Attitude, the 66 Steps to Mental Wellness. No, I'm kidding. It's Attitude, the key steps, the 6 keys to mental wellness, not 66 steps. Gary, thank you for joining us today. I'm going to turn the session over to you.
Thank you. I'm glad you did, because when you said 66 sessions, I was like, that'll drive anybody mentally gone. You're going to snap right there. But yeah, I want to say thanks for having me. Seriously, greetings from Morro Bay, California. Now, if you don't know where that is, it's fine. People that live in Morro Bay have no idea where it is either. But we are right in the middle between Los Angeles and San Francisco. We're right central, right on the ocean, on the coast. So it's a lot like Mississippi. Not really, not at all. But it's a place where my wife and I are now, and we're involved here in Morro Bay to bring leaders, people that are leadership influence, that have kind of reached their burnout, they're exhausted, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And we have 2 beautiful suites here on our property where they can come and just breathe for a little while. Now, I know some of you are going, can I be one of those people? No, you can't. Anyway, so let's get on with this. But the reason I said that is because my whole heart, everything about me, is to really encourage people to not get so stuck and not get so locked in that they don't see a future, that they don't see that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And so I hope that by the time we're through here, maybe if nothing else, maybe you can step back a little bit to find a little bit of humor in your situation, if not some great resolve. Anyway, there's a good friend of mine. Well, he's not a good friend, but I believe he wants to be in some way. His name is Chuck Swindoll. And when Chuck Swindoll said this in a quote, it was one of those quotes, I don't know about you, but every once in a while you hear something and you go, wow, yes, that makes sense to me. Unlike the evening news. Anyway, I digress. So he said this. He said 10% of what happens to me in my life is one thing, but it's the 90% of how I choose to respond to that 10% that changes everything. And when I thought about that, it's really true. If my wife was here, she would really tell you a lot about me. That's why she's not, okay? But she would say one thing. The one thing that Gary has to work on most of the time is not the things that happen to me. It's how I choose to respond to it. Because our response, the way we respond to things, not only exhausts us, but can exhaust all the people around us. And so I just want to start by just saying that wherever you are, whatever situation you're in, those are from the outside. That's the outside demands. That's all the outside stuff coming in at you. But I want to address what's the inside stuff. What's the stuff that's in your head? What's the dialogue that's going on in your head? Even when somebody's talking to you and you're thinking something else, like maybe some of you right now, okay? But the dialogue that goes on inside of our head is so important, because that's what determines many times whether we're going to react to something or to respond to something. Teachers, faculty, people, whether they're teaching adults or they're teaching young people, I have tremendous respect for it. I'm going to tell you why. My life was literally changed by a teacher. When I was a freshman in and I remember showing up as a freshman on my high school campus, and I had a lot of what you call emotional baggage. I'm sure that some of the people that you deal with on a regular basis, some of the students you work with, none of them have any emotional baggage. I'm sure they come to you ready to learn and excited, saying, please Tell me more. It's not always the case. And when I showed up, I had some really big issues going on in my life. And my teacher, his name was Mr. Becker. And Mr. Becker had been teaching freshman English for almost 750 years. He was the oldest person I'd ever met in my life. In fact, one day I said, "Can I ask you a question?" He looked at me and he said, "Hurry up." I'm not joking. He actually said that. But when I first met him, he said, "What are your goals?" I said, "What?" He goes, "What are your goals?" And I go, "I have 3 goals." He goes, "What are they?" I go, "Number 1, I'm going to drop out of school within 3 weeks. Then my second goal, I'm going to take as many kids with me as I can before I go. And my third goal, I'm going to be your personal nightmare, Mr. Becker, every single day until I leave." Now, I was setting myself up for rejection. You know why? Because I was rejected my whole life. My whole life was all about people rejecting me. So many times I would set myself up to be rejected. But Mr. Becker was one of these teachers, one of these faculty that could see something in me, listen to me now, that I couldn't even see in myself. So I'm in his class for 3 weeks. He never told me to shut up, which was a word that I grew up with. He never told me to keep my mouth shut. He was one of these guys that every single day he would see something positive about me and he would tell me. Well, regardless, by the 3rd week, I said, "Mr. Becker, I'm out of here. I'm dropping out of school. I'm a man of my word." I thought for sure Mr. Becker was going to tell me, "Good, go see the principal, get out of here," because he didn't get paid to babysit me because I was a bad kid. You know how I knew I was a bad kid? My parents told me I was. Faculty told me I was. People of influence told me my whole life, "You're a bad kid." And you know what? If you have inner dialogue long enough, you choose to start believing it. Mr. Becker never told me to leave class. In fact, that day he said, "Go stand by the wall. I got to go get something." And he had this desk called the little drawer of confiscation. It's stuff that he kept over the years that he took from students. And he pulled out this gigantic long rubber band. I didn't know that within a matter of seconds, I was going to learn a life lesson that I had never forgotten, ever. He pulled out this rubber band, and some of you are going to relate. And he took the rubber band and he began to wiggle it in front of me. I said, "Mr. Becker, what are you doing?" He goes, "You're like this rubber band." I go, "Mr. Becker, come on. Are you doing drugs? What's going on? What? What do you mean I'm like the rubber band?" He goes, "You move a lot, but you have no direction." You know, during this time of COVID-19, I see every single day in many of the Zoom meetings that I'm in, people are moving, people are busy, but they have a hard time being intentional because they don't know where they're going. They're projecting into a future that is completely, somewhat unprojectable. They're moving, but they have no direction. And he took the rubber band, he kept wiggling it, and then he took his finger and he pointed it at me. He goes, "I'm a teacher." I go, "Yeah, okay, so?" And he goes, "I point the way to the future." He goes, "I'm not concerned about where you've been. I'm concerned about where you're going." And he took the rubber band and he put it around his finger and he pointed it at my forehead. Why? He was a sick man. And as he pulled the rubber band back, listen to me carefully. Every time he pulled the rubber band back, he would mention something into my life that brought me a lot of pain, that brought me a lot of discomfort. He'd pull the rubber band back and said, "What was it like being abandoned when you were 2 years old?" He'd pull the rubber band back and he said, "What was it like being raised by an alcoholic father? What was it?" And every time he pulled the rubber band back, he mentioned something negative and painful in my life. He said, "You'll never be launched until you're stretched." That went over my head. I go, "What are you talking about?" And he kept pulling the rubber band back. And by the time he had the rubber band fully stretched, tears were streaming down my face because I felt so much anxiety and pain and fear. And I remember looking at him and I said to him, "I hate you, Mr. Becker. I hate my life and I hate the way things are right now." And he goes, "But look what's happened." And he had the rubber band all the way back. He goes, "Gary, the pain in your life, the discomfort in your life has caused this rubber band to stretch full length." And then he let go of the rubber band. In fact, he shot it right at me. It just missed my head. It went out the door and hit a kid walking down the hall. I said, Mr. Becker, that was one incredible shot. He looked at me that day and he said, today's not about the pain. Today's not about the discomfort. Today's about the launching. As a result of all the things, Gary, that you've been through your whole life, where are you going? Will you allow the pain and the discomfort to cause you to become bitter, or will you become better? I'll never forget that as long as I live, because with everything that's going on right now in my life, sometimes I wake up and I go, I can't hit the reset button again because I don't even know how to hit it. I don't know how to reset the button. When this COVID thing hit, for me as a speaker, every conference that I had booked for 2020, within 3 days, every one of those conferences was canceled because people aren't bringing in speakers. Hotels are canceled. All of the venues canceled. All my bookings are canceled. What do I do? I mean, what do I do? I'm a speaker. They said, well, what you could start doing, Gary, is you could start, doing these online meetings. Oh, really? Online meetings? How many of you have a little Zoom fatigue going on right now? I mean, if I hear of another Zoom meeting, when I first started these Zoom meetings, the first one I did, I go, I will never do that again. I'm the guy that's looking for the reaction. I want the reaction of the crowd. I want the applause. I want to see people's faces so that when I'm speaking, I see them go, rah, or I don't even, nah, get them out of here. It doesn't matter. I live for the response of the people that I'm speaking to. And the first Zoom meeting that I did, I'm giving it, Connie, I'm serious. I'm giving it my best shot. I'm giving it everything I've got. And guess what I'm hearing back? That, exactly what I just heard. Silence. I finished my first Zoom meeting and I said to my wife, I can't do this. I said, she goes, are you feeling some pain? I go, yeah, it's a pain. She goes, stretch. She goes, are you feeling that the people aren't applauding you and you're not getting all of that accolade? I said, yeah, what about that? She went, stretch. She goes, Gary, as long as you make everything that you're doing about you, and as long as it's all about what you're doing and what you're going to get back, when it's all about you, you will never, ever understand the true satisfaction of being a person that's there just to simply serve. I just really hate when my wife is right. And so we started just giving back. We started doing Zoom meetings like we're doing right now, and just giving back. And people say, well, Gary, are you receiving anything? Let me tell you something. The one reason that I do Zoom meetings, I'm being honest with you right now, it's not for you. It isn't. I mean, some of you're not even watching. Some of you got the kids screaming. I'm the 10 Commandments during Easter in the background, right? That's me. I get it. But the reason I'm doing what I'm doing right now is because it brings me mental wellness, knowing that I'm doing something to give back to the people that have given to me. And these Zoom meetings, they're crazy. Never know what's going to happen. But I'm telling you something. The first part of really understanding mental wellness, number one, is what I call having tremendous focus. Focus. Focus is see me. Focus is the ability not just to see all of the needs that you have, but seeing things from a different perspective, seeing the perspective of others. We talk to people all the time on Zoom, and a lot of this one husband, he had to be home. He had to be home for his work. He's gone, now he's home. How's that feel to have somebody that's not there? All of a sudden they're there, and they're there 24/7, and they're there, and the kids are there, and the wife is there, and the significant other, whatever. There's all these bizarre situations. You know what the husband did? He would take his laptop to do his Zoom meetings for his company. into the living room. And he would sit there put it in the living room while everybody's and in the living room. And he would tell everybody when he goes on his meetings, I need all of you to be quiet. Just be quiet while I'm doing my meetings. He didn't realize, because of his lack of focus, that wherever he was, it wasn't just affecting him, it was affecting everybody around him. Focus is ability to see beyond yourself. We live in a time of where everything is, we're losing our focus. I mean, talk about social distancing. Isn't that an oxymoron? Socially distant? How do you do that? Who came up with that idea? Who did a line of cocaine and said, I got a great idea, social distance? Can I tell you something? We as human beings, we're made to be close. And I'm telling you, the hardest thing in the world is that we, in our heart, everything about us is relationship. We're meant to be close. We're meant to, come on, give some hugs once in a while, high fives. That's the very people we are. We are not created to be distant. We're created to be what? Close. That's why the Zoom and doing what we're doing right now, it's okay. But can I tell you something? You'll never get a hug online. You'll never feel the emotion online. You'll never feel the focus online. And in fact, if you want to know, we're more out of focus now than we've ever been before. Have you ever been to talking to somebody and you're looking at them and they're looking at you and their phone goes off and all of a sudden they're like this, excuse me a second, hang on a second. And all of a sudden you're sharing your time with their phone. Can I tell you something? If there's one thing you might want to practice right now, especially with the people that are around you, the people that are living with you and that you live with, put down the phone and start looking into their eyes. That's focus. Turn off the TV once in a while and just begin to look at each other once in a while. Because if you look long enough and hard enough into somebody's eyes, you're going to see some things that you've never seen before. Focus is so powerful. When I first started doing these Zoom meetings, I had to realize that I was not speaking to a large group or a small group. When I started doing Zoom meetings, here's what I realized. I was speaking to one person, and that's to you. Focus is the ability not to look away. Focus is the ability to really see what's important in yourself and the people around you. Second thing that I learned, especially in these times of great turmoil and people trying to figure it out, because all of you, I can't imagine what faculty are trying to work through, trying to work with people in an online distance education. I can't imagine. So here's the next one. Focus is one thing, but how do you show another human emotion that we all must have, which is what? Affection. Affection. Now, when we talk about affection, most people think, like maybe a physical affection. And by the way, I know some people that when COVID hit, they're like, yes, I don't want anybody around me. I love it. Get them away from this. Is a God thing. I understand there's people, don't get out of my space. I understand. But we all need some kind of affection. How about this? Let's use the word recognition. The greatest way to show affection is not just physically, but here's the other way. Verbally. It's what we say. How many of you have ever said something and as the words are coming out of your mouth, you go, no, come back now? How many of you know that sometimes we say things and once it comes out, it's like my daughter when she was young, she goes, words are like toothpaste. I go, what? She goes, once they come out, Dad, it's really hard to put them back in the tube. Practice verbal affection. Verbal affection. Because sometimes we get so crazy with everything that's going around that we're not careful in the things we say. Do you know that people seldom remember exactly what you say? But people, please listen, people will always remember how you made them feel by the words you say. Many of us, maybe you're like me, I give my best to people every day. that don't even really care, only to serve my emotional leftovers to my family at the end of the day. When you're there in proximity, sometimes we're so wrapped up in what we've got to do that we haven't learned the secret of what we got to be. We got to be. And the verbals, the way we say words, can actually change the course of somebody's life. So remember, the first one is focus. Look at me. The second one is that amazing affection, not just the physical affection, but the power of our words, showing affection with the word. Step back. Even I've asked people to write down some positive words so that you have some reference. Some of you looking at me, come on. I mean, you're kind of negative. Maybe you're negative right now.
The last thing I need is this some motivational speaker. I'm motivated.
Yeah. So you have affection. I mean, focus. You have affection. Here's the next one, and this is a big one for me. I'm going to talk about me now again. Ready? The next one is simply this: modeling. When people look at me, I often ask myself the question, what do they see? What is my life message? What is the message that I'm telling people when they see my what? My actions. I do care because my actions speak more about me than anything else. But it's one thing to model your life in front of people that you see once in a while, but to model your life with people that you can't get away from is a whole different thing. My wife and I have worked together for almost 28 years in the same business and at home. But even with the COVID-19, we're learning all kinds of new things about each other that we never knew before. And one of the big things is we don't have any place really to go because everything was closed down. Of course, we're seeing things opening up now, which is nice. But man, there were times when she goes, "Why are you acting that way?" And I didn't realize, honestly, I didn't realize that before I got married, I had a tone. I didn't know I had a tone because she's always saying, "It's your tone." And I said, "What tone? I don't know. I didn't know I had a tone." It's modeling. What is my life message? And sometimes our moods, I'm not saying we have to be perfect because nobody is, but sometimes we save the worst of us for people who need desperately the best of us. So you have this one thing mental, you got this thing called focus, look at me. You have affection, which is that verbal affirmation, recognition. Then you have what? The modeling. And then here's another one I want you to think about when it comes to mental wellness. Write this one down. It's called investment. Investment. And when I talk about investment, I'm not just talking about financially investing or make sure you get enough toilet paper to last through this thing. I'm not talking about, when I talk about investment, what are you investing in the people around you? One of the things I've been trying to do is find ways of investing. And so what I'll do is I will text people all day. And I text them with, I don't ask them how they're doing. I said, how are you staying healthy? How are you people, how are you doing? Are you kidding? How am I doing? That's like throwing somebody into the ocean. But how about asking them this? How are you staying healthy today? Mentally, physically, emotionally? Start and find some people and do what I'm doing. Do some Zoom meetings. I'm zoomed out. Who knows? Those are the connections. Make investment in relationship. It's the perfect time to do that. Investment. So you have what? Here we go. Focus, affection, modeling, investment. And here's a big one. And this is huge because let me talk to you right now. You. Here's the question. Do you have a sense of humor? Are you fun to live with? Are you fun to work with? Are you fun to be with? The thing that brings great mental wellness is to have a tremendous sense of humor. And the reason that most people don't have a sense of humor is because they're not stepping far enough away from the situation to find the sense of humor.
Okay, it's just not fun. There's lots of things and there's a lot of pressure and that's not right.
Let me tell you something. Laughter is like a good medicine. And when you're laughing, I'm not saying you're laughing at somebody or at a problem, or I'm talking about a positive heart laughter. Do you know that when you're laughing, you're more creative, you're more mentally awake, you have more energy. So you have to have a sense of what? Laughter. Find humor in something. Some of you might want to even have to listen to a comedian once in a while. Turn off the evening news. Let me try that again. You need to maybe get a break from the news. Find something to laugh about. You've got to find that laughter. In fact, my wife and I, we actually wrote a book together called Big Laughs, Bigger Lessons. And we find that the things that weren't funny at one time in our life that happened are hilarious. Some of the best stories you ever tell are those moments in your life that weren't funny then when they were happening. But when you step back far enough, those are the stories you laugh about for the rest of your life. Some of you looking at me right now, look at me. You need to laugh. Even the muscles around your mouth are starting to, some of you started to smile today. Even the muscles are going, excuse me, I've never gone in that direction before. What's going on? This is something new. Well, Gary, you don't understand. Life is serious. And I've had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff. Can I tell you something? Apparently, you're the only one then. Are you the only one that's going through what we're all going through? Remember, it's not what happens to you that makes a difference. It's how you what? It's how you choose to respond to it. Your best days are in the next choice you make. The people that bore me out of my mind are the people that continue to tell me what they've done, what we used to do, the good old days, the glory days. Here's what I used to do here, and I would have done that if it wasn't for so-and-so. I get bored with all the blame and all the past. Here's the other people that bore me to death. People that tell me what they're going to do. Here's what I'm going to do someday. Someday I'm going to lose some weight. Well, why don't you wait till we can see that happen? Let's go into some discovery here. Can I tell you something? It's one thing to talk about all the things you're going to do. And I believe in dreaming. Trust me, I believe in believing in dreams. But the most powerful place you've got in your life is where? Right here, right now. The choices you make right now determine everything, not only for you, but for the people that you live and work with. So laughter, finding it in the moment is powerful. And here's how I leave you. Here's how I leave you today. It's the final word. Focus, affection, modeling, what? Investment, laughter. Here's the last one. Yield, to yield. This is the hardest thing, especially in our society today. Yield, because everybody wants to be what? First. I got to be first. In California, as you come on to the freeways in California, there's a sign as you come on to the freeway, and the sign is like a hazardous sign. It says yield. Just the word yield. You know what it means? It means to observe what's around you and let others go first. Observe what is around you and let others go first. Do you know that some of the worst accidents in the California freeways is right where that yield sign is? You know why? Because nobody wants to let anybody go first anymore. There's no that sense of I gotta serve. And so when they come up, that car comes up, that car that's coming onto the freeway, they're supposed to observe. And then you know what they're supposed to do? Back up and let others what? Go first. But you know what they're thinking? I can't let them go first. If they go first, they're going to be ahead of me. Yeah, by what, 4 or 5 seconds? Seconds matter? Really? You see, the thing about yield is simply this. When you learn to serve, then you learn to lead. because the greatest leaders I've ever met in my life were first what? Great servants. And the reason we have such a hard time serving, especially now, is because of one thing. It's called fear. Fear. And there's so much fear in our society today. Why? Because we don't know what's going on. We think we do. And as a faculty member who's trying to pour in an adult education format, I can't imagine all of the safeguards, all of the things that you need to do that maybe rise up that fear in you or that anxiety in you that's going, I'm overwhelmed. I don't even know where to start. Here's where you always start. Find a place to serve. Where can I serve? That's what it's all about. Those 6 things I gave you, the focus, affection, modeling, investment, laughter, and yield, it spells family. Family. And if there was attributes that I would tell you or ask you to present to your family first, it would be those. In fact, I say to many people, why don't you write those down and why don't you put them somewhere that you can see them every single day, at least for the next 7 days. Focus, affection, modeling, investment, laughter, and yield. 6 things that can bring tremendous mental wellness, not just to you, but to the people that have to live and work with you. If you have any questions about what I have spoken about, let me give you my email. We'll make it available, but I'll give it to you right now. And by the way, I do answer my own emails. So you need to know I'm not virtually weird that way. I do answer them. My email address is actually my name. It's Gary, Gary, at Gary, Z as in zebra, ELESKY. Gary at GaryZaleski.com. And I mean this from all my heart. If there's a way that I can help you or be with you or talk to you, please, totally accessible. I want to serve. So there it is, my tremendous, whole heartfelt Zoom meeting. And the applause right now is deafening. It's over. Deafening. But seriously, Connie, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you and share with, did I say Connie? Have I been saying Connie?
It's okay.
I meant Cindy. Cindy. Don't hold that against me, all right? Cindy, seriously, thank you so much. And hopefully we can do this again.
Thank you for being with us. Thank you, everyone, for attending. We appreciate you, Gary, and thank you for what you've shared today. It's been powerful. Thanks.
Guys, it's all from here. Bye-bye now.
Bye.